next question for Padmaja, and the context is the ecosystem. Because many a times I've heard that manufacturing may not be the right environment for women. For example. Now, given that you're part of a very large organization, and it's not without reason that PwC is called Big Four, one of the Big Four. It's global, and it is services. Now, if you could share maybe some perspective on the ecosystem, the environment, the nature of the work, and how can not only services companies, but we'll of course start with services companies. Is there a preference for one over the other when it comes to D&I?
Yeah. So Suresh, I mean, really love the discussions and all the different perspectives that are coming. I guess that's part of the whole diversity of discussion, right? Which is great. On this whole point about certain gender, this thing doesn't suit, or age, this doesn't suit.
Padmaja? We're having some...
point is this for that. Am I audible?
Padmaja? No, there is a...
Am I audible?
Now you are. Would you like to turn off your video? Because I think that may solve the problem for a minute.
Let me just do that for a minute. Yes. Normally bandwidth is good. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. Now we can hear you.
Great. I was just saying, I think the whole point is the choice has to be left to the individual, right? Sometimes you find that, there is the whole well-meaning, within quotes, patriarch. It doesn't have to be gender-based. It's not a gender construct, but the choice on, do I want to work in manufacturing? Do I want to work late hours? That choice is with the individual. Everyone should decide what works for them. And I think organizations have to show sensitivity to everybody. But I think where it, really becomes a problem is if there's a stereotyping that something doesn't work for everyone, right? That's the first point I want to make. Second is, since you spoke on gender, I actually find, when we have our town halls, so many young women who are they don't want to be in any way, patronized or have these assumptions made. They want that choice to be left to them. So some may say that, in fact, the biggest question that comes up very often is, when are you going to have paternity leave, which is as much as maternity leave? Because it's also important that in the workplace, you don't reiterate or perpetrate any stereotypes, right? You say it's parental leave. It is a parental benefit, creche, subsidy. I mean, it's just available to everyone, right? So I think that's the important point, that first, the choice has to be to the individual. It shouldn't be to the organization to stereotype. I think the second point I want to make on ecosystem, Suresh, is enough research has shown that all said and done, when you have a minimum number, it makes a difference, right? I think whether it's on race, I mean, recently in our US firm, we took a very bold step and published a report called the Transparency Report, just about what is the diversity in our workplace. Not just gender, but racial background, sexual orientation, differently abled. So that report is out in the open, in the public domain, to say that how many, in terms of promotion percentages, how does it vary across each of these. So it's really putting your, money where your mouth is, to say we really believe in this. But in so much of research, what we see is that when there's a minimum ecosystem, right, it gives that critical mass to really foster the inclusion. So whether it's on sexual orientation, gender, it's like I've heard people talk of in boards. You have one woman in a board of 16 versus 2 versus 3. I think it's just that much more conducive to open discussions, open conversations. So I think we shouldn't just chase numbers, but I think they just help us ensure that we are creating an ecosystem. So, I mean, that's what I would believe.